Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Van Holtz back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. Hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of me is Taylor. Taylor with Feet Clothing.
How's it going? What's up?
What's up, man? It's finally nice and sunny here in Austin. Well, kind of sunny. Yep. And excited to learn about your business, man. The most comfortable athleisure stuff out there, right?
Exactly.
Give me your 30-second pitch, man.
30-second pitch is we just wanted to make clothes that were super soft, super comfortable, but also looked good. So some of our most comfortable clothes we'd always wear. We didn't want to be seen outside the house. We looked like a slob. And then some of our clothes we looked the best in were super uncomfortable. So we wanted to kind of combine comfort and style. And that's how we developed our first product called the Blanket Blend. It's a special fabric we made. Now we have Blanket Blend joggers, shorts, and hoodies, and crew necks. It's like a super soft fabric that looks good and feels good.
I can't imagine a better business to have come March of 2020.
Yeah.
Did you guys just like blow up or?
I mean, yeah, it's great, obviously, but it's also the negative of that is you don't plan for the crazy spike we saw in really April was a massive month. March started picking up, April and May, but then we were sold out. So yes, that was great, the influx of sales, but it's trying to keep up with the demand with inventory.
Yeah. Where are you producing your products?
We make them all over. So we have manufacturers in downtown LA. We want to do some quick turn stuff. We have people in South America and we have people in Asia. So we have flexibility with that.
Yeah. So you created a fabric, you said. Walk me through that. Like, how does that even happen? Like, I can't even imagine like that process.
It's a long process. So my co-founder, Parker, was definitely a lot more involved in that process than I was. But it pretty much, we started with a base fabric that we liked and said, okay, how do we make it softer? And then you tweak the materials of it a little bit and you make it a little more this material or that material, whether it's like a polyester, a cotton, a rayon, like, and you're playing around with these materials, you're putting them through different washes and softener washes, and you're treating them with different types of things to make them feel in different ways. So it took like a 1.5-year process to make this fabric.
Right. And did you trademark the name of the fabric?
Yep. So that's our IP is Blanket Blend. Like, other people could try to make soft clothing, but they can't make Blanket Blend.
Yeah, yeah. How's that work for you? Do you see a lot of customers specifically ask for that type of material? Or?
All the time. And especially as we start growing and advertising so much on these different channels, like, people start to see it and the IP becomes pretty strong. And then we not only are customers requesting and talking about Blanket Blend, we have wholesalers, we have B2B type customers who are saying, like, we want Blanket Blend hoodies.
Yeah. So I want to first also let our listeners know Feet is F-E-A-T.
Yep. Not
F-E-E-T, but it is a play in words because you started off with socks, right?
Yeah, so that's how we started 2015 as a sock company. We were just, we had this little heat press. It looks like a big panini machine and sublimation heat press. So we'd get these designs and just press a design on these white Nike socks and white Adidas socks and sell them around campus. So that's how Feet Socks started.
Okay, so you started off just essentially making what anyone else could make. When did you develop your fabric?
That was in like 2018, I want to say. So from 2015 to 2018, really, we were only making socks and we were scaling as a sock company. And we were growing based off these influencer collabs. So we got really early in the influencer world, like 2015. We were doing deals with the Chainsmokers, Logan Paul, Aly Raisman.
Yeah, I was just thinking like the Maverick. I think I remember seeing the Maverick sock. Was that?
Yeah, that was us.
That was y'all?
Yeah,
oh,
so
no
we
way.
did those Maverick socks. So funny story about that. We were living in Boston at the time because we went to school out there. And we did this deal with Aly Raisman, who was an Olympic gymnastics gold medalist in 2016. We made her own custom sock and sold like $500,000 of the sock. We were like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, through Instagram and through an influencer or athlete, we could sell so much. So then I go on Instagram and start DMing every single person on Instagram with over 1 million followers. And this is like 2016, before influencers was really like a big thing. And a lot of them would respond. And I started looking at all these kids that got famous from Vine and realized they all their videos had the same handle in their apartments, and it was all shot at the same pool in the same gym. And I was like, either I'm crazy, they all live in this building. And finally, one of the Viners responded like, yeah, send some socks to 1600 Vine Street in Hollywood. And I was living in Boston at the time. I was like, oh, that's so funny. He's a Viner and he lives on Vine Street. Either he's messing with me or this is the Mecca where all these kids live. So I flew out to LA. I snuck into that building And I saw like every single Viner lives there, from like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Amanda Cerny, King Batch, Lele Pons, Rudy Mancuso, Bieber was there for a while. Like it was just like there's like probably 30 kids in the building with over 1 million followers. So I called my co-founder and I was like, we had an office, like a 2,500 square foot office and warehouse that we were doing all of our stuff out of in Boston. I was like, get out of that lease. We're moving to LA. We're moving into this building and we're going to work with these kids and understand social media. And we moved into the building. That's how I met Logan. That's how we did the sock deal and really started understanding social media and influencers.
Man, that's like the most amazing thing I've heard. And then it's just like a matter of time before you bump into him in the hallway or whatever.
Exactly. And that was it was an interesting finesse, right? Like, because you didn't want to be too aggressive and be like, I moved across the country to come and be in the same apartment building as you. So it was funny because all those kids would hang out at the gym all the time. Yeah. At the time, I never went to the gym or worked out. But I was like, I have to be in the gym because I just have to get those like head nods in, you know, like just be comfortable in their space and like let these people know who I am. So I just go to the gym all day and wait to see them. And then eventually we cross paths.
Yeah. So how does that conversation even begin? Like, is it, just shoot the shit? Like, obviously you know who these guys are. They don't know who you are. How do you strike up that conversation without being like, oh my God, you're Logan Paul. You're Jake Paul?
So at the time, like they didn't really know who they were yet. Because it was like they were still a year, like they were just starting to get famous. They were still like underground famous and cool, but like to the average 28-year-old, or I think at the time I was like 23 or 24, like most people didn't know them yet. Right. It was still like kids or only people from Vine. The same way like TikTokers, like, there's a couple TikTokers like the Charli D'Amelios or Addison Rays that you know now, but most TikTokers, most people our age don't know at all. So that's kind of how it was. We brought Aly Raisman, and it was right when she won her gold medal. We flew her out to LA for a photo shoot, and we did it in the gym when I knew all of them would be there. So we had this massive production photo shoot there, and they were all obsessed with Aly because she just won this gold medal. She was like America's sweetheart gymnastics. She's just an awesome person. And they're all just like, what's going on here? What's this photo shoot? And then Logan and some other people come over like, what is this? We're like, oh, it's a sock company. And I remember I told Aly, I was like, go tell Logan, like you're selling a bunch of socks and he can't sell as many socks as you. So that's how the conversation started, with them kind of talking a little bit. And then we're like, Logan, dude, let's sell some socks.
Yeah. And did that kill it for you as well, or?
Yeah, it was wild. In retrospect, like there's so many things I wish I could have optimized better from it. Like I think he drove over 1.5 million unique visitors to our site within like a 2-week period and brought in 20,000 new customers. We had no paid ads on. We had no email capture or email flow set up. We had no retargeting. So like there's so many things I wish we could have done better. But I mean, it absolutely crushed it. We got like 20,000 new customers from it.
Right. And then I think I've followed him or seen the video. He ended up doing his own sock company or something, went off on his own.
Yeah, so he ended up doing his own merch line. Yeah. And I remember it was before we did the deal. He wasn't going to do the deal because he just it seemed like he wasn't that motivated by money at the time.
Yeah.
And I bought this like 3-wheeled car called a Polaris Slingshot. I don't know if you've seen these cars. It's like 3 wheels, no roof, no windshield, little cars. And I told Logan, I was like, dude, if you could sell 20,000 pairs of socks, I'll give you this car. And like that was the idea behind the content. And we made this whole video where he came to the warehouse and did this whole thing. So we absolutely like crushed this collab because I was talking shit to all of his fans saying like, you can't sell this many socks. Like you're not going to get the car. Your fans don't like you that much. So the collab went really, really well.
Yeah.
I think he saw the power of his selling power there. I think he knew he had that selling power. But once he saw it in dollars, it was either him or his team just being like, we have to start our own. And that's when they started Maverick.
Yeah. And I assume that breakup was cordial, or do you stay in touch with him? Or?
Logan's great. Definitely cordial, like in every way. Like I have so much respect for him, and it's amazing watching his journey and watching public perception of him kind of go up and down a little bit based off what he does. But like that dude is one of the most hardworking, nicest dudes ever. And it's when you're in the spotlight that much, obviously you're going to get negative and going to get positive. But like he is probably one of the smartest and most hardworking people I've ever met. And is such a genuine good dude. It just sucks that when you're that famous, one slip up and people choose their opinion of you.
Yeah, I know because I'm also a creator on the YouTube channel. Like sometimes you do things to, spike controversy because it brings eyeballs to what you're doing. So, I always wonder, I think of Kanye as a perfect example. And I think Kanye might actually be crazy, but he'll blow my mind. He'll say like the most asinine, crazy things. Everyone's talking about Kanye for a week, 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, he'll come out with an album like on that subject matter. And it's like, okay, either case is completely amazing. Like either he had already created the album, he knew what he wanted to do, and then he was able to drive all this interest into it. Or the other one is like, he created all this and he created an album in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like
Which
both,
are both genius, right?
Yeah, I know. So like, I don't think like, I know Kanye gets a lot of haters, but then when you step back from like an entrepreneur standpoint and you see what he actually did, it just blows my mind. Like I have no comprehension of, maybe it's a mixture of both. I don't know, but it's crazy.
Yeah, Kanye is definitely an absolute genius. Like he is so smart with the way he does things. As is Logan, as is anyone who's putting out that much content and able to elicit such a reaction out of people at some sort of scale. It's a very valuable skill to have.
So let's talk about that transition from working with influencers, doing like one-off collaborations. Do you continue to do these collaborations, or did you just completely shift into these new product lines, and how much of your business is still the sock business?
Yeah, so barely any socks now. We've really transitioned. As we grew up, we wanted the brand to grow up too. So the feet socks was a lot more childish. It was a lot more like chubby style branding, very bright, in your face, college humor type stuff. We elevated as people with what we wear and how we act and how we want to see the brand. So that's when the brand elevated as well. The influencer collabs, we took a little bit of a break from them because as we focused on product and experience and just making this elevated brand we want to do, now we're doing collabs again. We did this great collab with someone named Helen Owen in December. It did really well. We have like 3 or 4 collabs lined up for 2021 that we're really excited about too.
Let's talk about that, because that's something that I want to do at Beard Brand, is really master the art of the collab. How do you first identify, target the right person to collab with? How do you build like the deal so it's like a win-win situation? And then how do you launch and execute it to make sure it is successful?
For sure. So as someone who's done tons of collabs that have been extremely successful and extremely unsuccessful, I've learned a lot. The first thing is the person and the brand really have to align. So when there's no alignment between person and brand, both sides are confused. The influencers, followers are confused, saying like, hey, I've never, if you collab with someone who doesn't have a beard, it's like, hey, you don't have a beard. Why are you pushing this product? How does this make any sense? So the influencers, fans aren't good, and then the brand side, it doesn't convert. So it has to be genuine alignment, and the influencer actually has to genuinely care. So that's the first thing. And that's probably the most important.
Yeah. How do you find influencers who care? Is that just...
So a lot of them have come now with collabs. We'll gift product to them, or they'll organically buy our product. And we'll be kind of scrolling through our Shopify orders and be like, yo, like, look who just ordered. That's wild. Let's hit them up. And they're like, yeah, I love your stuff. And we're like, cool, let's collab. When it's that genuine and organic, that people could tell. So that's really important. It's like they have to actually like your product and use your product. So I think that's the first most important thing. The second thing is a lot of brands go wrong with like thinking, oh, I'll just pay them $5,000 for a post and they'll do one post and that's it. Like it's so far from that. It has to be a full campaign. So it has to be content that they want to share with their followers, not content that feels like it's taken away from what they normally put out, but almost elevating it. So it's on you as the startup founder to figure out, okay, how can I help this person create content that is going to be their best piece of content? So if you want to work with someone who does X, Y, and Z, oh, cool. I know they like to go do X, Y, and Z. Let's go make it even better and do this and work this in some way or something like that. So it has to be bigger than just a post and to show that you're aligned as a brand with them and their content.
Okay. So when you think of collabs, I mean, it's as simple as like, from like a technical standpoint, it's just a sponsored post or sponsored content, right? It's not like you're making products for them.
No. There's layers. There's different types of collabs. So
Right.
You could do very small sponsor posts. You could do co-branded product, which I think do best. A lot of these influencers and anyone with a following wants to create their own product, but it's very hard, as you know, to create a product and a brand. So if you could be that enabler for them to create their own product and you keep them within guardrails, like, hey, you can make this type of beard oil within these 3 different smells, test them out, and then you could talk about, like, you keep them within your guardrails,
right?
But then have them feel like it's their product, co-brand it with them, and then give them sort of rev split or profit split on that to make them feel like it's give them their own branded experience on the website, and then make content with them, making the product. Bring someone here. You have such a sweet setup here. Have them go in your lab and have them play around with it and testing it and talking through, okay, here's why we're choosing number 1, because it smells more like shaving cream versus pine trees. And I like the smell. Like, make some awesome content around it. So it's just so much bigger than like, hey, go buy this.
Right.
And that's it.
At what size for you are these deals worth it? Like, what size impact on influencers? Like, obviously, someone with 20,000 followers on Instagram isn't going to be a good collaboration partner.
So it really depends on their audience and engagement in a lot of ways. So like, we've worked with influencers that have 100,000 followers that have sold more than influencers that have 5 million followers. So it really depends on who they are. Why people follow them is really important. Like, we've worked with a lot of these girls with big Instagram followings and we've made female products for them, only to realize they're followed by 90% dudes who are probably not following them for fashion advice, to put it that way. But it's really even a small creator, if they have the right engaged community and you have the right campaign, it could convert well. It also, like, you have to think about, are you depending on them for distribution and sales and traffic, or are you doing it through your own? So a smaller creator that you work with, let's say that does have 20,000 followers. Like, can you develop a paid advertising campaign to put budget behind it that's going to convert better than your campaigns you're running now? And can you figure out a way to make the numbers make sense? Cool. Then it makes sense to collab with them if you don't need them for their distribution.
Yeah. What are some percentages that people are comfortable with? Like, if you throw out, is a rev share like 10%, 20%, 50%? Like, where do the numbers kind of come in? And do you give them like flexibility with the pricing or anything like that? Talk a little more about the granular details.
Yeah. So I mean, it's such a range and it really depends on the creators. Like, we've done deals as small as 10% and we've done deals at times up to 80%. So it's such a range depending on what you're asking from them. We try to stay away from number of posts on any deal, just because I feel like when you're putting a dollar amount on number of posts, you're only gonna get that many posts. Let's say you're saying 10 grand for 3 posts. It's like, you're not getting more than 3 posts.
Right.
Whereas if you say, hey, we're in this together, it's a partnership, it's a collaboration, you're going to make X% of revenue from this, and this. Here's what we're forecasting. We're also going to make you this awesome content. We're going to fly you out to Austin. You need to come to our warehouse. We're going to get lunch with you. I'm going to get to know you. We're going to do all this really fun stuff, and we're going to make this great content. Like, you're going to get a lot more posts. But yeah, the range really varies. And end of the day, it depends on, like, there's traditional sponsorships are like Nike or these companies sponsoring athletes. And those deals are usually between 5 and 10% of a shoe deal, for example. When someone like LeBron has a shoe deal, he'll get 5 or 10% because Nike has such distribution.
Right.
Nike just needs his name and they're like, oh yeah, we're already in. We have all of our stores. We have this and that, like whatever. And then there's other sides of the deals where you're depending on them to drive 100% of the traffic. And so it has to go the other way because they know that, like, hey, whether it's Beard Brand or the next company, I'm going to be generating all these sales. So it's a pretty wide range.
Yeah. Talk about some of the losses and why they failed.
In business or in influencer specific?
Because
I've got a lot of losses. Losses, they failed because A, you just look at the following and you say, oh, this person has a big following. It's got to be good, which is such a juvenile mistake to make, just looking at following numbers. B, you could tell the person didn't care about the collab. And when someone's like, hey, I made this, it's so cool, go buy it. Yeah. And you're just like, everyone just writes that off and they're just like, that's stupid.
Can you get that feel like before? Like, is there like a, I got to, nope out of here or whatever, like a point where you're like, this just is not going to work? I
mean, yeah. And I think that just goes back to like, just in those initial conversations. So like, we've done deals where the manager has always kept us away from even talking to the influencer. Yeah. And when the managers get involved, I always say like run. That's the worst because managers like just want to middleman everything and just make it like so difficult. So yeah, when we work with the manager, it's like we never actually talk to the person directly. We have no idea if they're into it or not. They end up doing just one post and that's it. And they're just like, okay. So you can kind of tell if the person cares because if they care, they're not going to have their manager talk. They're going to be on the calls and they're going to be on the brainstorming. You're going to say, hey, what product do you want to make? And they're going to say like, I love your blanket bud fabric. And I want a cropped hoodie. I've been thinking about this, or I've been thinking about making a tank top or this or that. And I'm so passionate about making this, this, and this. And you work with them to make it versus they're like, I don't know, pick any color and just let me post it.
Okay. So you've had a few of those losses. You said you've had some other losses.
I've had a lot of losses.
Let's talk about some of those, man.
Where do you want to start?
I don't know, man. I don't know what losses you have. You seem like you've got a whole wake of success in your history.
No, definitely a lot of losses on the business and the personal mental health level, which are like two set. Like in business, yes, we've had our losses. I mean, obviously trying to scale too fast. When we were 22, we raised like $1.25 million. And we were 22-year-olds with $1.25 million. We hired all of our friends. We had a trampoline in our warehouse and we just had a lot of fun, but learned that's not a sustainable way to build a business. Learned just how important people are and some issues with people. And we've had a lot of issues there. And I've also had a lot of issues in losses to my mental health, just dealing with the entrepreneurship game. Yeah. It's hard. I mean, there was one point where I think this was, I want to say I was like 24 at the time. And it was right after we got named Forbes 30 Under 30. And we had our best year in business. And I was working, all I was listening to was Gary Vee all day saying, hustle, grind, no friends, no going out, no talking to girls, no partying, just work, work, work. And I did that for a year. And I was the most depressed and sad and unstable person I've ever been. And it was Q4, I think of like 2017 or 2018. Good year in business, named Forbes 30. I was so bad, in such a bad mental state. I turned to my co-founder Parker like on a Tuesday afternoon, like a couple weeks before Black Friday. And I was like, I just booked a flight as far as I can go. I'm leaving my phone, computer here. All I'm going with is what I'm wearing right now. Could you drop me off at the airport? And I booked a one-way flight to Thailand. And I was like, I'm such a bad mental state. I have to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Like, I cannot be in my own body right now. And I am a menace to this company and society and everything right now. I'm just in such a bad state. I have to change my mindset. I am so depressed and sad and horrible. And I just left. And that trip like taught me a lot about like, yes, business is important, but life is so important too. And if you don't balance it correctly, then you can't go too far on one end. But I mean, that was a very tough time. We've been hundreds of thousands.
Let's talk a little more about Thailand. Like, how long were you there? Like a week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, a week.
And then like, how were you able to get your mind pointed in the right direction? Was it just zenful mindfulness or?
Yeah, so I think the first thing was breaking away from technology. So I was and I think we all are, addicted to our phones and computers and laptops. And like, I couldn't be without my phone for a second. And it was insane. So that's why I had to leave my phone, leave my computer, and disconnect from the world. And to disconnect like that and realize everything's okay and it's going to be okay was really important for me.
Yeah.
To realize you don't need to be on call 24/7. It's okay. And then the next thing was when I got there, there's these kids. I just remember watching these kids play in the street and all they had on them was scraps. And they were kicking a Coke can and playing soccer with it. And they were laughing so hard and smiling with the biggest smiles on their faces. And I was like, wait, like I'm in the US. I have all these things. I'm named this, and this awards and I'm doing everything, but I'm miserable all the time. These kids, all they need is a Coke can and they have the biggest smiles on their face. Like, who's winning in life?
Right.
Like, which do I want to be? Do I want to be the sad, miserable person with all these things? Or do I want to be this kid with a Coke can and just like not even a shirt on my back with the biggest smile? I was like, I want to enjoy life. I want to smile.
Right.
And that was a really big thing for me.
Okay. So then you came back. Sorry to interrupt you with your other failures. And
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, there was a point where I think in 2018, a bunch of failures. I'll try to be concise with them. One, working with the wrong agencies and the wrong partners who you think are supporting you, but they're really just trying to get that next check for the next month and the next month. So we had way too many of the wrong partners who tried taking us for a ride. And I trusted altruistically. I thought everyone in business was good and everyone was looking out for your best interest. And I learned very quickly, like, unfortunately, as great as it would be to think that way, that's not the case. So we had some big losses there. We got in some bad debt that we had to get out of. We went on this show called The Profit on CNBC and worked with this guy, Marcus, for a while. And that was the worst experience of my life.
Well, we're both reality TV stars.
Yeah, you were on Shark Tank,
Yeah, I was
right?
on Shark Tank. Yeah. I had a great experience on there, but we ended up not doing a deal with sharks. So.
Yeah, everyone on Shark Tank has great experiences. Everyone on The Profit has the worst experiences. So I got on the wrong show.
Oh, yeah. Is that just they got too involved in your business, didn't understand your business, or?
Without slandering him, I don't want to say anything too negative, but he is not what he makes himself out to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some expertise that weren't applicable to your business.
Yeah, and it seems like
lacking.
he tries finding vulnerable people and businesses and taking advantage of them in however way he likes. So that was another thing too. Like, just because someone's famous and successful doesn't mean you can trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good to know as well. It's up to anyone listening or getting those. Is the show still going on, or?
I actually think because what's happened with our episode and some other people, that I think it's not going to be happening anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot to unwrap there.
maybe for off air. Or
for another time.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing I wanted to talk about before moving too far is you're into LinkedIn nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, man? I hate LinkedIn, and you're like all balls to the wall for it.
Yeah.
What's up with that, man?
So people take LinkedIn at face value and think it's LinkedIn and they write it off, which is fine. And that's fine. Most people don't get it. The way I look at LinkedIn and why I like it so much, because it is the most underserved and best performing social media platform you could be on for a variety of reasons. So LinkedIn has this moment right now where it's content deficient. So there's more people consuming content. Everyone just scrolls there all day because it's the only social media platform you could be on and justify as work. You're still scrolling a feed. It's still a social media platform, but you're calling it work. So you're spending a lot of time there. And there's so many more eyeballs consuming content than there are creators creating content. So it's a content deficient platform by that standard. So the platform is incentivized to push your content as far as possible. So on the flip side, Instagram, content saturated platform. There's more people creating, posting stories and posting things than there are people consuming. So when you post something, it doesn't go to your whole following. Same thing with Twitter. Twitter, you can kind of hit viral if you get it. But LinkedIn, it's like the platform needs content. So you get crazy amount of eyeballs. So I started posting and I would get like 10,000, 20,000 views on my post. And I was like, wait, I have 200,000 followers on Instagram. At the time I had like 5,000 followers on LinkedIn. I would post on Instagram and get 10,000 views to my 200,000 followers. I'd post on LinkedIn and get 20,000 views to my 5,000 followers. I'm like, I think there's something here. So I started going hard on it for the past year. And I've grown from like 5,000 to 125,000 followers and got like close to 100 million impressions for free. So, in digital marketing, the power of eyeballs. It's just a game of like, if you can get free eyeballs, you take them. So then I started selling, I used those eyeballs to sell hoodies. I started selling a course on how to grow on LinkedIn, which has been awesome. Digital products are great, insanely high margin, no inventory. So I started scaling that out. And then from that, I got a lot of inbound requests because you don't have to be the smartest in the room, but if you're the loudest voice, and this is what Gary Vee did, like he was the loudest voice about social media marketing, and he built a $100 million social media marketing agency from that.
Yeah.
So I started a digital marketing agency as well, based off this insane reach and exposure I was getting on LinkedIn. People love to write it off, and they're like, LinkedIn, not cool. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, keep saying that, and I'm just gonna keep making my content and doing it.
Well, that's pretty rad, man. You've got 3 things going on now then.
Yep.
Are you still active in Feet?
Yeah. So last year was difficult actually because they all started taking off in a positive way. But when you have 3 things, you have no things. Right. It's very difficult. So started hiring good operators in place to run the agency and to run the online courses and everything. And I want to really sink my teeth into Feet. The agency and online courses were great to build up quick cash, but Feet is my long-term equity play that I want to invest more time in. So it's figuring out how to delegate, which is something has been a big skill I've been working on the past couple of years. Figuring out how to find an opportunity, then find the person who could manage it and figure out how to get them in line to do that. And then you can keep building.
Yeah. How big's your team in each business?
Each business, I build teams very flexibly. So they're all very lean cores.
Yeah.
And then ability to scale out as big or as small with a bunch of contractors and a bunch of like per project basis. So I like to keep everything overhead really, really lean. But on any given day, like no matter the size of the project, it could be accomplished because we have this network of amazing people we can call on whenever.
Yeah. So with Feet, you still have your business partner?
My business partner, and I think we have 3 other full-time employees.
Yeah.
But any given day, we'll have 20 people working on the company.
Yeah, absolutely. For ad management and stuff like that. Where's a lot of the creative and the vision divvied up between you and your partner with Feet?
Yeah, so that's all Parker, my co-founder. He's great. As LinkedIn and this course and the agency and other stuff started really taking off for both of us, we're partners across everything. He really took Feet and said, I got Feet. Go figure out, like, there's such a good opportunity there. Go make the money there.
Yeah.
We did that. And he took Feet from this point where we were coming off this show with Marcus. We were in a bad spot. We're in pretty bad debt. And he took us to a super profitable place where we have cash on the balance sheet and built this beautiful brand. So that's all him.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to do, circling back to Feet before we wrap it up, is you developed this fabric. Is that going to be aligned with one of your manufacturers? Or are you able to, I guess, go to the fabric manufacturer and then take it to various clothing manufacturers?
We have like the tech pack, so we could take it to different places. Different manufacturers are good at different things.
Yeah.
So obviously, like Asian manufacturers are good at scale. And like when it's very detailed, here's exactly what you do, go do it 10,000 times. LA or, downtown US manufacturers are good at using things and making more custom. And there's not as much of a language barrier. And the machinery isn't set up to do massive scale. So you do smaller things. South America is good for different things. So yes, we could take it across anything, but we have different partners who are good at different things.
Yeah. And then are you able to diversify your fabric manufacturer as well? Or is that going to be something
That's something we're working on for the next year.
Yeah. Cool, man. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they follow you?
LinkedIn.
What's your LinkedIn handle?
LinkedIn is just Taylor Offer.
Okay.
Instagram is @TaylorOffer. Twitter is @TaylorOffer. Feet is just FEAT on Instagram. I think we're Feet Clothing on Twitter, although we don't use that. TikTok. We're popping on TikTok right now. It's just @Feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Taylor Offer on all platforms.
Sweet, man. Well, go ahead and get yourself some of the most comfortable clothing that you can get and look stylish while you're at it. Thanks for being on the show, Taylor. I had a lot of fun. Loved hearing your stories. Super motivating. I'm going to get on LinkedIn and start posting.
Sweet.
All right, guys. This has been another e-commerce conversations. Hope you guys are having a great day and learned a couple of nuggets. Cheers. Keep on growing.